What's going on, y'all? Man, it's King Clef holding it down for the Cool Tipper, man. I'm right back at you. Today is a kind of a grim day. I know this happened yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. Yelling to get shot by ICE. There's a lot of opinions about this thing, and we're going to explore some of those things, and we're going to dive into it. Check it out.
ICE agent operating in Minneapolis shot and killed a 37-year-old woman that DHS said, quote, weaponized her vehicle trying to barrel into the agent's path. Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, I'm going to play the footage of this incident that's circulating online. It is a little graphic, so if you don't want to see it, skip ahead about 50 seconds. Now, in the video, you see ICE agents approach a plum-colored SUV, demanding that the driver, identified as Renee Nicole Good, get out of the vehicle after she blocked the path of their pickup truck. Her SUV was basically perpendicular to the lanes in the road. Now, the agents approach her and one attempts to open the driver's side door. Now, at that moment, the driver puts her car in reverse, then changes course, putting it into drive and hits the gas right into the path of another agent. Now, everything happens really fast. The agent, whose weapon appears to be drawn once Good puts her car into drive from reverse, dodges the SUV, swings around to the side, and fires 3 quick shots. Now, the SUV speeds ahead a few hundred feet before crashing into a white sedan that's on the side of the road. President Trump weighed in online after seeing some of the video clips of the incident. He called the driver disorderly and that she, quote, violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer. Now, he went on to blame the left for, quote, threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem also remarked on the incident on Wednesday evening, continuing to stress that the officer acted in self-defense and that the victim had been harassing and threatening agents. She also reported that the officer who fired his gun and was hit by the vehicle was taken to the hospital and released Wednesday evening. Now, protests grew throughout the day, both at the site of the shooting and at a Minneapolis courthouse. Now, I'll be talking to the Post senior reporter Chris Nisi, who has been all over.
So there's two different sides to this thing, and we're going to dive into both sides. First, we're going to look at the side that says that this woman may have been doing exactly what Trump and them has said they were doing, which is obstructing justice, obstructing traffic, trying to block ICE in, and essentially trying to either evade police when they're trying to stop her or use her car to, as something of a weapon. There's a witness as well. Let's dive into that, and then I'll get right back with you. Check it out.
Commotion. I heard some whistles going on out front, so I came downstairs to see what was going on. Wasn't even dressed, and there was a car, the Honda Pilot that's crashed over there now. There was a car blocking the 2 lanes of Portland traffic, and the ICE agents got out and they were saying, "Get out of here! Get out of here!" And she was what looked like trying to turn around. And the ICE agent was in front of her car, and he pulled out a gun and put it right in, his midriff was on her bumper, and he reached across the hood of the car and shot her in the face, 3-4 times. And then she must have just stepped on the gas. She stepped on the gas immediately, maybe got 100 feet or so, and ran into the telephone pole and some cars, and then was slumped over in her car. And you could see she was probably gone. And there was a medic, there was a neighbor who's a physician who was yelling, "Can I please check the pulse?" There was no first responders. There were 0 first responders. They left her in her car, slumped over for about 10-15 minutes, blocking us all. And eventually EMS got here, and they wouldn't let the bus in, so it was just the EMS workers, and they checked her out for a second, maybe five minutes or so, and then carried her out, no stretcher or anything, carried her out like a sack of fucking potatoes.
Can you describe a little bit about what this woman looked like? Was there anyone else in the car with her? Did you know if she was the target?
I don't know if she was a target. They clearly wanted her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest, is my understanding. I talked to another guy who was driving behind her, but she was very successful in blocking traffic. She was doing what she was set out to do, and so they wanted to get her the hell out of there. Yeah.
So it looked like she was impeding ICE vehicles.
Definitely, yeah,
Okay.
that was her goal.
Do you have a read on her demographic?
I think she was a white woman. Looked like I didn't see her when she was alive. Just slumped over in the car. It looked like she had dyed short curly.
I saw the video on numerous occasions, and seeing what transpired from a lawful perspective, as it pertains to a law enforcement official, don't expect him to be prosecuted. He was completely justified. From a humanitarian perspective, however, why did you have to do that? If you could move out the way, that means you could have shot the tires. That means you could have got her a few feet away after you shot the tires. And if you were unsuccessful in doing that, you could have got her down the road. You didn't have to do that. She wasn't driving down the road coming at you 90 miles an hour. She was parked in the middle of the street. And rather than get out the car, she wrongfully tried to drive off.
You saw that, you heard that. Never gonna see the other side of the coin. The ones that are against ICE and the shooting and saying that they were illegal in doing so or wrong in doing so. So we're gonna dive into that. Check it out.
If you watch the actual footage of the ICE agent shooting that woman, that 37-year-old American citizen, in her face, no matter what angle you watch that video from, you'll see that she wasn't trying to run him over with her car. No, it's bad when white American citizens are being shot by ICE agents. The president said the woman was disorderly and that she viciously and willingly ran over the ICE agent. And you know what? That would be disgusting if it were true. But it wasn't, because we watched the video and we saw that that didn't happen. I just want to know if American citizens can receive a pamphlet of what the new rules are, because then surely we can read them, understand them, and then comply. They signed up to be federal agents knowing that their job required them to be in conflict, but they're so afraid of any type of conflict that they'll kill anybody they come across. Make that make sense. This big ass man was so afraid of this woman in her car cutting the wheel to get away from him, because that's what you can see in the video, cutting the wheel to get away from him, that he shot her 3 times in the head. In fact, he was so afraid of this woman and her car that he went towards the car, because that's what you do when you're afraid for your life. You go toward the threat. Just let us know the new rules so that we can abide by them, so that we can comply. Let me give you an example. If an officer tells you to get out your car and you don't, you can get shot 3 times in your head. If an officer tells you to stop walking and you don't, you could get shot 3 times in your head. If an officer tells you to stop talking, stop recording, and you don't, you could be shot 3 times in your head.
Updates on what has happened in Minneapolis after a federal ICE operation turned deadly. A woman we know now has been shot and killed by an ICE agent during a massive immigration enforcement. You can see in the clip we're getting a different story from the official report from federal authorities as opposed to what we can see with our own eyes, because these authorities are claiming that she weaponized her vehicle and the officers fired in self-defense. But this is a claim that local leaders are disputing. I have watched this video from several different angles, and what you can see here is he shoots her and then moves out of the way. He shoots her point blank through the windshield, which we can see. She was not running him over. He did not get run over. You can see that from different angles as well if you watch different videos on this. Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota and other officials are pushing back on the DHS narrative, with the governor telling people not to believe the propaganda machine, and he is calling for a full, fair, and speedy investigation to assure accountability and justice. The Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Frey, also blasted the federal account as bullshit and demanded that ICE leave the city. Watch this clip.
And I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis.
Now, it's important to listen to this part because the woman was reportedly not a target of any arrest warrant. She is being described by some leaders as a civilian observer, which is now, of course, raising questions about federal enforcement and the use of force. What we are seeing here is an abuse of force. What we are seeing is an abuse of power. And once again, I demand, along with so many others, we must abolish ICE. I'll keep you posted for more updates, and I'll let you know if there are going to be any protests.
So here's my thing. Usually I try to put some funny stuff into these videos, but this is not a funny matter. So we're just going to keep it straight news and straight facts, or at least, straight to the business. it's, first of all, let's say RIP to this young lady. You know, it's sad that she lost her life, but the common consensus is that she intentionally tried to block ICE. She intentionally tried to obstruct justice. The main question, I think, what it boils down to is, and I use this phrase a lot, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And the question comes up, was it necessary? Not necessarily was it justifiable, because I believe it was justifiable. The one young lady, Keita Rose, I believe she was saying that you could see it from different angles, that it wasn't necessary, that she was trying to get away from him or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that once you put your car into drive, when they're telling you to get out your car, once you drive towards the officer, your car is being weaponized. And it's even said, and you can see it in another angle, that she skimmed him. Now, he didn't, fly back and flip over and all that kind of stuff, but she did hit the officer. And you can't even touch an officer without that being assault. Like, literally touch an officer with your hand without that being a form of assault on a police officer. So I don't think that we're arguing justifiable actions here. I think we're arguing, was it necessary? And I was fully prepared to say it was necessary, but I'm torn, because Stephen A. Smith made a good point. You can pop out the tires, come catch up with her down the street. She ain't gonna get far, and then you would have saved her life and your life, and all that. I get the frustration that they must have to deal with on a daily basis of being ostracized for just doing their job, and dealing with these protests and being called everything under the sun. And this is not the first incident where somebody tried to ram or use their car as a weapon. In Chicago, there was more specific direct attack with the vehicle, and in that situation, the young lady, I believe it was the young lady, did not get killed or shot, right? But in this situation, somebody did, and it's unfortunate and it's sad, just because somebody lost their life. A family member is gone from somebody's family, but in the same breath, two things can be true at the same time. She was down there to do what she was trying to do, and she did what she was trying to do, which was block ICE, obstruct justice, obstruct traffic, be of some sort of a resistance to what they're trying to do. She tried to flee, obviously. She tried to, evade police or agents. And it even did look like she was trying to aim towards him at the officer because the officer was right in front of the car, right? That's why he was able to shoot through the windshield, because he was right there. So she had to be going in his direction in order to shoot through the windshield. So I'm gonna personally say, because I have to make a stance on something, right? I can't just leave it blank. So I'm gonna say that although it was justifiable, I think it may have been unnecessary, and I don't think he had to do it. It was other ways to apprehend her or stop her or whatever it is you was trying to do. I think that's the take I'm gonna give it. It's a warning to people to not play with these folks. It's a tragic warning to people to not play with these folks. Let them do their job and get the fuck on out the way. I think we have a mentality that because we're trying to stand on what we believe is right, that we can do whatever it is we want to do. And that's a falsehood. That's false. That is not true. At the same time, it doesn't mean that you should lose your life behind it. And there's a phrase: when you play foolish games, you're gonna get foolish results. Well, she did that and she got that. But I'm saying, just because this officer can shoot somebody doesn't mean he had to shoot somebody. And There's plenty of examples of when people use alternative forms of force. And I think that's what should have happened here. You know, pop the tires, do something. And that's where I'm gonna leave it at. Deuces.